The Old Republic, Mass Effect 3, Dragon Age 2, they've convinced me of but one thing. BioWare couldn't find their own ass with a GPS and written instructions. I mean, I have a good friend who was invited to the Old Republic beta, a beta which reputedly has been fraught with developmental difficulties, not the least of which is a simple fact that even if the game had been made well, it just isn't all that fucking good. And man, they're fucked on that front, because budgetarily speaking, they're somewhere between $300 and $500 million. For perspective, James Cameron's Blavatar cost about $270-something million to make, and that was one of the most expensive films ever made. So you do the math on that one. I mean, it isn't a bad game, but it's vanilla ice cream washed down with a nice tall glass of room temperature tap water. It's so apocalyptically unexceptional it must take fucking mediocrity courses from Halo University. That's right, I fucking went there. Halo, for the record, is not a fucking bad game, but it's like eating cotton candy. It tastes absolutely delicious going down, but when it's all said and done, you realize you just had a whole lot of nothing. And that empty stomach feeling is all too prevalent in the modern video game industry as far as I'm concerned. It's a culture of homogeny. EA, of all companies, EA, folks, tried to get some new IPs out there a couple years back, one of which, Dead Space, sold like deep-fried smack. But the other, unfortunately, was Mirror's Edge, which, while a really cool concept from like a gameplay standpoint, had one of the most derivative video game plots ever penned by a screenplay-peddling Hollywood reject. But man, guys, at least they fucking tried to get some new stuff out there. We'll be on Mass Effect 20, which I'm sure will be a prequel to Mass Effect 15 by the time EA gets enough hair on their nuts to try that fucking suicidal move again. Can you believe the shareholders actually threatened to fire the CEO for doing that, guys? Which means they'd rather pay the CEO his $50 trillion severance package than actually pull an original idea out of their hemorrhoidal ass every eon or so. And therein lies the rub. It's not sequels I have a problem with, Rageaholics. It's the fact that what we're playing today don't feel like sequels to me. I mean, you guys remember Double Dragon for the NES? Classic beat-em-up, like vastly inferior to its arcade counterpart, but a seminal shit-kicking classic nevertheless. When Double Dragon 2 came out, did Technos randomly decide to remove the punch function in favor of kicks? Well, you could say, punches weren't focus tested well. We found people did a lot more kicks and enjoyed them far more, so we've chosen to go with purely kicks. And whenever you push the A button to kick, the computer assumes control and shows a cutscene of Billy kicking the guy in the dick sack and rubbing his junk in their face. No, they didn't do that shit! They added more stuff. More moves, more stages, more enemies. Fuck! By Double Dragon 3 you had 4 playable characters, and you could fight with fucking Wolverine claws! And fuck whatever the AVGN says, Double Dragon 3 is a motherfucking classic. And not only are the ideas no longer flowing freely from the fountain of fuck yeah, ooh, alliteration, the fountain of fuck yeah that once was the video game industry, there's actually a premium now placed on the status quo. I mean, if I can wrap it all up here, because I don't want to run spoony length here, if there's one thing I could say to you guys tonight, it would be nipples. But immediately afterward, I'd say to all the game developers or simply aspiring game designers that when you find yourself, while fashioning a sequel, carving entire chunks of gameplay from the game that people bought and loved earlier, rather than adding cool new content, you should be hearing alarm bells, because the poor fucking saps that sit their ass down to actually play this festering shitbag, they sure as hell will be hearing them. I'm coining a term tonight, Rageaholics, because they're deconstructing these games, so as far as I'm concerned, they aren't sequels, they're dequels. I'm Razor Fist God! Fucking Speed!